Hey, what's up guys, I'm Torn and welcome to Victoria 3. So this is a game I've been really looking forward to the release for. I've been following it very closely, read all the developer diaries at least 2 times, some of them I've actually read 3 times, reading every preview I could find, pretty much eating up any information that was available on the game because I was just so excited for it. So I have had access to the game for a couple weeks now. Unfortunately didn't get to play as much as I'd like to over those 2 weeks. Simply because of the move. We just did that out-of-state move, so things have been quite hectic for me over these last 2 weeks, and I just didn't get to play as much as I would have liked to. I did play 2 campaigns, took about 30 or so hours. My first one was as Prussia. I played into the early 1900s. The game does go from 1836 to 1936, so I didn't complete that campaign, but I got it to a point where I felt like it was complete. And then I started a new campaign as the United States and played into the late 1800s. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with it so far. We'll talk about the different mechanics and stuff as we play and how I feel about at least the initial release here, the release version of the mechanics and systems. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop into a new game. We don't need an objective here. I don't think this actually impacts the game much in regards to like what bonuses you get. I think it's more like goals they set for you, kind of help you achieve whatever you're attempting to achieve. So this is the tutorial. This is of course economic dominance, hegemony, or egalitarian society. So it kind of just directs you towards those goals, gives you missions, journal entries that will kind of push you towards completing those. I don't think you get any bonus for doing them though. They're just kind of, just to help you along and teach you those particular systems. So very helpful as you're learning the game, but not something that is going to be necessary for this Let's Play here, where we're going to be playing as the United States. And I chose them because in my 2 campaigns, I really enjoyed the US one because of their unique situation with the slavery and trying to avoid the Civil War or fight the Civil War. It's just very different from playing over here in Europe or really anywhere else. It was a fun campaign, so I wanted to try it out here on the channel, and also because we're a bit late here. Embargo lifted, I think it was like 4 hours ago from when I'm actually recording this, because again, it's just been crazy and hectic. It's been a nightmare. Getting into this house and getting our other one sold all the way up until the last minute. It was kind of crazy, and we didn't even know if we were going to have anywhere to move into when we were driving here because it was just so messed up. Everything kind of didn't go the way it was supposed to. And so here we are on launch day, just now recording this despite the fact that I've had a couple weeks with the game, and thus I've had the advantage of looking on YouTube, seeing what some of the other larger channels or similar sized channels have covered, and I haven't seen a ton of American campaigns. I was actually considering playing somebody else, but then I saw a bunch of campaigns from other channels doing that country, so we're going to do the USA instead, and I think it should be fun. So let's go ahead and hop into the game. You can play as any organized country here, so you can't play as like the Great Sioux Nation because they're a decentralized power, so you can't play as them. They all look the same on the map here. These are the countries that you can colonize, and you cannot play as them. But anybody who has a regular color here, you can play as them, including like little tiny states. So yeah, if we wanted to say play as this one province minor, we could play as them if we wanted to. So much like other Paradox games. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into 1936 as the United States of America. Very pretty game visually. I like it quite a bit, particularly if you zoom in, which I did want to do a little sweep through our country here in the beginning of the campaign. And sorry for the mechanical keyboard. Some people really like the sound of the clicking. Other people find it kind of annoying, but I really like this keyboard. So that's the reason why I use it even for recording. But yeah, I did want to do a little sweep through because our country is going to change quite a bit as we continue through the campaign. Everything is going to come to look very different, particularly in some of the western countries, or western states, excuse me, or Florida. Florida doesn't even have one urban center, as you can see here. Just not enough people live in there. I mean, if we looked at it, we can see the total population is about 88,000 here. Let's kind of sweep up Mississippi and into Ohio here. Again, very, very pretty game. Maybe not the best Paradox map, because Imperator Rome for me was an absolutely gorgeous map. I don't know that this one is better than that, because again, I really like that map. But perhaps the second best map, I like it better than CK3's map or EU4's, and definitely Hearts of Iron 4's map. That's not really a specialty of that game. So that's what our country looks like right now. So not very urbanized, very few people out here, very little industry. We're not working all of these resources that we could be. There's Pittsburgh. Hopefully we'll grow that quite a bit. So yeah, I just want to sweep through the map so you guys can see what it looks like in the beginning, because it's going to change quite a bit. So these are our journal entries that we start with. We'll take a look at those here in a minute. So this is one of the more challenging Paradox games. It took me a while to get familiar with everything, and that's after having read everything that I could on the game, watching the videos that Paradox had already put out, and you know, spending hours just kind of fiddling with everything as well, just seeing what everything does, what all the buttons are, the hotkeys, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it took me quite a while to kind of get familiar with all the mechanics. Probably halfway through my campaign is when I felt, you know, my first campaign, that I felt kind of confident with everything. Similar to most of my campaigns, I will be explaining the game's mechanics and features as we play. I won't go into all of them here in this first episode. It'll be across the series. I do find that while the beginner guide videos I do and other YouTubers do are quite helpful for learning the game, they don't really show you how to play, you know, day to day, like what you should be doing, you know, every day in the game. And so often a Let's Play is better for that. So this video can serve as like a tutorial or beginner guide for those of you who are new to the game and trying to learn everything. So yeah, let's just go ahead and hop into it. Like usual, we have like usual Paradox games, we have a little button up here that will show us all the things we need to be aware of. So for instance, New York has insufficient taxation capacity. We'll take a look at that here in a minute, what that means and how we fix that. We got like expensive government goods. Again, something else we'll do here in a minute. First, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves a technology selected. There are 3 technology trees in the game: production, military, and society. You can only research one at a time using your weekly innovation. So basically, you're getting most of that from, you know, universities. There's a base value, but you know, once you get past the base value, it's universities that are going to provide you with that innovation. Now, there is a maximum innovation you can have, so you can't just build a ton of universities and just push through the tech tree really quickly. Our current maximum innovation is about 118 almost, and that is based on a base value plus the literacy of your pops. So our literacy rate is up here, 45.2% right now. And so that's where we're getting that maximum innovation, which we could increase quite a bit, by almost 2 times. So would probably behoove us to get some universities eventually, so we'll be researching a little bit faster. However, even if you go past that maximum innovation, it actually still helps you, because you'll see there's another bit of numbers down here, and this is technology spread. So for each one of the tech trees, there'll be one tech that you'll be researching like by default, and it won't use your innovation. Instead, it'll use your technology spread, and that'll be based on a tech that somebody else in the world has and that you currently qualify for. So we can't get dynamite, so therefore we can't get technology spread for dynamite, because we haven't gotten the preceding technology just yet. So basically, you don't need to research all these techs on your own, although it's not a massive tree overall compared to some other strategy games. I found myself able to get through it fairly easily, a little bit too early actually, and then you don't have anything to research. Particularly in that Prussia campaign I did, I was through most of the tech trees already, and they do get more expensive as you go. You'll see these little numbers here, so 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5, and those are the cost. So you might not want to research, like, let's say a level 3 before you do many of the level 2s simply because they cost more, so they take longer. So the level 3 techs are going to take us 10 years right now with our current innovation, while a level 2 tech will take us only 28 months. So we do get that technology spread to 3 techs. You have no control which one of those will be selected. And you can research the same tech that is currently getting the spread so you can get it even faster. So this is based off of your literacy value, the unspent innovation, which right now we haven't spent any of it because we're not researching anything, but typically that's from the anything that's over the maximum, and then you get that 25 base value as well. So I think we're going to actually start with nationalism here in the society tech tree. Most of the society techs are like passive bonuses, so you don't have to really do anything to get them. So this is just going to give us a 10% authority, which would be pretty useful. We do need more authority, and you guys will see why here in a minute. But this also unlocks some important journal entries for the United States, so we're going to go ahead and get that one first. I was kind of flip-flopping between these two here because we could use bureaucracy as well. The influence is not going to be as helpful for us, but let's go and get the nationalism, guys. And so that'll help us with the authority, because our goal for this campaign is to try and avoid the American Civil War while still banning slavery. And I'd like to do it earlier than I did it in my test campaign. So in that test campaign I was able to completely avoid a civil war. It took 2 attempts. The first one, I think I did it just too early. It was in the 1850s, and it was very clearly going to be a civil war over it. And I don't think that was because I didn't do a good job reducing the power of the landed interest, the Democrats in this particular game here, or my particular campaign. It was the Democratic Party that was a coalition between several different interest groups that was causing me a lot of issues, but they weren't the main problem. I think I did a good job reducing the power of the Democrats. The major issue for me was actually just a ton of radicals from other issues. So I had a lot of states that were just very unhappy with me. And so you had states that joined or would have joined the Civil War, because I actually, saved the game and fast forward to see what would happen if I had allowed the rebellion to fire. And I had a lot of like non-slave states that joined the Civil War against me. They weren't even wanting to stop the banning of slavery. They were just unhappy in general. So that was my problem. I just did it too early. So then I played a lot longer, and it wasn't until the 1880s that I was able to do it with no problem. I passed it very quickly, a matter of months, and nobody really seemed to care. So we're going to try and do it quicker than that, quicker than the 1880s. That's kind of the goal here, is to conquer all the territory that the U.S. historically got. I don't know about Alaska or Hawaii. We'll see there. But at least the continental United States, we want to get control of all that territory, and we might try and get some additional territory as well. For example, we could take this territory here from Canada. I did that in my previous campaign. I think we're going to do it again, actually. So yeah, we'll probably go ahead and try and get that, which we do that through the established colony. Doesn't look like we'll be able to do this here because we don't have an interest. We'd have to establish an interest. That's something we'll take a look at. These are all little buttons that you're going to use quite a bit. The lens, and you'll just see me using them. But there's 5: production, political, diplomatic, military, and trade. And they're very, very helpful. I use them a lot. So we are okay with taking additional territory from Canada or from Mexico if we can. But the key here is to get control of all the territory that we had, the United States had historically, while banning slavery and avoiding a civil war while doing so. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at all of our different screens here. F1 leads us to politics. Our current president is Andrew Jackson. He is bigoted, meaning he's going to give us an increase of authority, which we very much need, and is going to be reducing our influence while increasing radicals for indiscrimination, which we'll get a bunch of radicals for indiscrimination. So that's actually going to hurt us quite a bit. He's also a diplomat, which is going to increase influence, kind of make up for some of that influence that we lost here. He is the leader of the rural folk interest group. His ideology is radical, which is going to have effects on his stances on different laws. Some Vicky 2 purists are not happy that characters were added in the game, but I think they add quite a bit. I really like that Paradox did that. I love that they have the characters in here. So this is our current government. We are a republic. And we have the Southern Planters in power. They're the aristocracy, the landed aristocracy. Their party is the Democratic Party. And we have the rural folk in power as well, which makes sense because Andrew Jackson is their leader and he's the president. These are the additional parties and interest groups. We've got the Whig Party, which just has the intelligentsia inside of it right now. They have 17.9% of the clout in our country, which is essentially their influence. It's based on a variety of things. You can see how that's all being affected here with their political strength. So they're getting points from votes because we're a democracy. So every election you'll have, different results, and that'll affect how much clout they have. You also will get, they'll get influence from, or clout from wealth, the wealth of their pops, and from their leaders and their traits. So that controls how influential they are. Right now, I think the industrialists are actually the one with the highest amount of clout. Intelligentsia is next. The Southern Planters are here in third, and so on, so on. So we continue to hit F1 here. I'll show us some different stuff. This is how we reform our government, change the parties that compose it. With an election, you can do this for free. If we were to do this now, then it would have some cost. I think it reduces our legitimacy, which legitimacy largely affects how easy it is to get laws done, how quickly you can get them passed. So you do want to have it high if you're passing laws. If you're not passing laws, legitimacy doesn't have as much of effects. So yeah, it's something more important for the law passing. These are all of our current laws with the three different groups: power structure, economy, and human rights. And then we have our institutions. So institutions are enabled by laws, and which laws you have will determine what the institutions do. So with the colonial affairs, this is giving us a 0.2 colonial growth generation. We can invest in further levels, although right now you can see we can't currently. That is being locked right now. But yeah, you can invest in further levels for more bureaucracy, and the effects of that are determined by our colonization law. So right now we have colonial resettlement. If we had no colonial affairs, then we couldn't even have that institution. And if we had colonial exploitation, then we get these bonuses here instead of the 100% migration attraction that we're currently getting, and the 0.20 colonial growth generation. Well, I guess we'd keep that one. It's just different benefits here up at the top that you get. You can see that we cannot enact this law because we don't have any support within our government. So the industrialists would support this change, as would Winfield Scott, the leader of the armed forces. However, neither one of them are in the government, so therefore we cannot enact the law. It's not even an option. In order to enact laws, you got to have somebody who will support it in your government. Of course, this shows who opposes it, which the rural folk who are in our government, they would oppose us changing that if we so desired. We don't want to. We're going to keep that on colonial resettlement. That was just one example. If we just want to take a look at what laws we can change, we could change our distribution of power. Eventually, we're going to want to go to universal suffrage because we're going to try and create this somewhat like the way the United States went, maybe with some changes. We don't have to follow history exactly. But we do want to have universal suffrage eventually, but it's going to take a while before we're going to be able to pass that because pretty much all of the powerful factions oppose that right now. Eventually want to change that though. We already have elected bureaucrats. I don't think we'll be changing that at all. The national militia, one day we'll want to change that away, but for right now, national militia is fine. This does result in us not having very large standing armies, the armies in barracks. Instead, we have a very large conscription army. So you can kind of see the differences there on how large you can build your barracks up. It's significantly different. We're talking about like 20 times different here, while the conscription center max is about half here of what you're getting with the national militia, and the conscription rate is also much lower. So it's nice that it shows you how many battalions you'll be able to mobilize under each law. With national militia, we can get 266. Professional army, we'd only be able to get 42. A mass conscription could get us 210. So this is the one that gets us the most battalions, but those are mostly conscription rather than barracks, and we'll see the difference eventually. We'll take a look at that. The Home Affairs, this is one I would like to change over to Guaranteed Liberties, and it looks like we could do that now. And because the intelligentsia support it, they're not in the government, but Andrew Jackson, who's the leader of the rural folk, our president, he does support it. So we could pass it, 20% chance. That's not too bad, honestly. But we're going to piss off these two groups here. We'll irritate them. But I think that'll probably be fine. So maybe that's something we want to work on. Maybe that's the first law we want to do. One thing to consider with laws is how it affects everybody's opinion. So it's going to increase the opinion of certain interest group while decreasing the opinion of other interest groups. And then, of course, you have all those who are indifferent who just don't care. So maybe that's the one we'll work on first, because I would like to do a law if we can, so that we're making use of any excess authority we have, which does decrease the enactment time of any laws. So this is our economic system. Right now we have interventionism. So this controls the investment pool and which buildings you can subsidize. So with this one, we can subsidize most things. We can also get the government run for railways. That's what our current investment pool is, 5% from aristocrats, 25% from capitalists. So that's really not all that bad. In fact, we'll probably stick to this for quite some time. I don't see us changing. Like, we could go to agrarianism, and then that'll change what we can subsidize. Pretty much only agriculture buildings and trade centers, and of course any infrastructure. But it's going to drastically increase how much money the aristocrats put into the investment pool. And we'll talk about the investment pool a little bit later, what that does. So we would get a lot less capitalist contribution, though. It goes from 25% to nothing. So I think because of the large number of aristocrats we currently have, this would result in a higher investment pool initially. But yeah, overall, this is far better for us for the future. So we're going to stick with that. We cannot change our trade policy right now. Nobody supports a change. And that's one reason to kind of change the composition of your government, the interest groups that are in here, because that does impact what laws you can pass. We're currently on per capita taxation. I do see us probably changing this once we get the chance. Nobody will support this right now, just the trade unions. So can't enact that. We already looked at colonial resettlement, local police force. We will want to change this one probably as soon as we can. So maybe this will be the first one we want to work on, because we got quite a few interest groups who are willing to support this. It's really just the southern planters that oppose it. And the reason for that is because this is going to reduce their power. The local police force gives a plus 20% to the southern planters, the landowners, to their political strength. So it's going to be much better for us to switch over to dedicated police force, which is going to reduce the amount of radicals we get from standard of living decreases. Again, I know for some of you guys who have not been following the developer diaries, many of these terms mean nothing to you, but we'll cover them as we go through this series. I can't talk about every little thing here. We will never start we'll never start playing the game. So this is one we want to change over to as well. We will have more state penalties from turmoil, though, so that's something to consider, but definitely something we need to do if we want to reduce the power of the southern planters, which is exactly what we want to do. So that's one option to go with. We got the public schools already. We'll probably just stick with that. I don't see any reason to change that. We do not have a health system, so this is something we'll later want to change up. We've got the free speech here for our human rights, and we're on the right of assembly. We do not have protected speech yet. Labor rights, serfdom has been abolished, but that's kind of the limits of what we've done here. Not too many rights for the workers right now. Child labor is still allowed. Can't really change that. Women have no rights at all. It's legal guardianship. Can't own property. Can't really work. And they certainly can't vote. We have Social Security. Here we have no Social Security, so we didn't have poor laws. So something else we're going to need to change. You can see we need to make a lot of changes if we want to move towards a more liberal style of country. We have no migration controls. And slavery, this is a big one. We currently have legacy slavery. And I'll show how that works. But essentially, the institution of slavery cannot expand. So you have slave states and non-slave states, and those are marked on the map. You're able to see whether a state is allows slavery or not. We do not currently have the slave trade, so that would allow slavery to expand. And that's what the southern planters want to do right now. So you can see we could pass that if we so desired, but that would piss off a lot of other peoples, and that's not the route we want to go. We want to ban slavery, but we are not going to be able to do that anytime soon, because that would most certainly start up the Civil War the moment we attempted. So we could do 2 of these, is what I'm seeing. So I think we'll probably start with, I mean, this would be the more difficult one to pass, as you can see. And it would also piss off the southern planters, and we haven't done much to reduce their power yet. So it's probably best to not start with that one, and to instead maybe go with the guaranteed liberties. Yeah, I think we might want to go with that one. That'll actually please 2 interest groups while only irritating 2 interest groups that don't have that much power. So I think we're going to go for that one, 20% chance of enacting every 180 days. And give our peoples guaranteed liberties. And so this will result in us having an additional institution here. We have the law enforcement, education, and colonial affairs right now, and thus bureaucracy is going to be a problem if that passes, because we do not have any excess bureaucracy right now, so we're going to need to improve that. That's probably going to be one of the first things we build, actually. So let's go and take a look at a few other things. So we got our budget here. This is what we're currently earning. And so we are in the positive. That means we're going to start building up our gold reserves, which are currently sitting at 2.96 million. This is our taxation level. What type of taxes you have and how much you get from those it is determined by laws. We currently have low taxes, and we're probably going to keep it as is. We might eventually have to go to medium taxes, but I prefer keeping the low taxes because of the reduction of radicals from standard of living decreases. And also these taxes come from our people. So if you're taxing them heavily, then they're not going to have as much money. Their standard of living is going to decrease. And you're going to see more and more radicals pop up. We can enact consumption taxes on particular goods. These cost our authority here. So this would cost 200 authority. And this shows you how much you can earn. We can earn significant amounts of money from doing consumption taxes if we need to. And then we have our government wages and military wages, which we can increase or decrease. And it would have those effects there, pissing off certain interest groups, and also enriching or decreasing the wealth of those pops that are paid from these wages. Something to consider there. So that's pretty much all we need to look at for the budget screen. This is our building screen. We're going to be in this quite a bit as well. These are all the different buildings in our country. So yeah, we're going to be looking at that quite a bit. And then our market. This is another one, F3 and F4. The buildings and the market are the 2 you're going to look at the most. So you can see the market price, see how expensive certain goods are. Basically, that's kind of what you want to do with your construction. So these are the things you're currently constructing with your construction sector. We have 35 points that we can invest into that right now, 35 construction points. And those be spread out across the things that we're building up to a limit. And so that's probably what we're going to need to work on initially here, is things that are very expensive. So you can see right now, porcelain's expensive, luxury clothes, and groceries. One thing we'll want to do, though, is probably let it play a little bit to make sure this all gets updated. These are currently the cheap things in our country. Fertilizer, oil. Oil's not really worth anything. Looks like we have some whaling stations going. Those probably aren't going to do well, because we just don't need any oil. So we might end up seeing those shut down unless we, somehow create more buy orders, which I don't know if we have access to anything at this moment that requires oil, so probably not. Steel is also quite cheap, as is sulfur. So all these are really cheap, and sometimes having things cheap is not a good thing, because those industries aren't making that much money. So that's something to consider as well. And what we might want to do is set up trade routes. So this is our trade routes here. These are all the trade routes that other countries have going, import and export routes, and all the ones we currently have going. We'll take a look at those in a minute. I want to let this play just a little bit to let everything update, because I'm not entirely sure if it starts out well updated. So going through our situation log, the low market access, that's not a problem. That's the colony we just started, so we don't have to worry about that. I think that this one's about that too, so not a concern. However, this one is the taxation capacity. So that is basically how effective you are at taxing the people in that state. And the reason why it's so low for New York is because they have such a high population. So if we just took a look at New York specifically here, we have 2.22 million people. I think it's our most populous state by far. I don't think anything even remotely compares. Yeah, Pennsylvania has got 1.5. So it's the most populous state here. We can see the taxation capacity down here. We have exceeded that, thus we're losing 4% of our taxes. So the way to increase this is government buildings. And we actually have quite a few here in New York. These are our government buildings. We have quite a few here, but it's just not enough. Currently getting 63 taxation capacity. So we're gonna go ahead and build 2 here, guys, because I think we're gonna need it. So we'll get that started, and that's essentially all of our construction points. It's just building those. And an additional benefit of getting those is that's going to result in more bureaucracy, which we already know that we need because we're trying to put another institution in place. So that'll be helpful to have. Well, you'll also notice some other things down here for New York. So this is the current homelands of the Iroquois and the Yankee, and then our state traits. So these are really important. So these are going to affect the different buildings that you can construct. So you do want to pay attention to those. And one thing I really like is that if you hover over the particular state trait, it'll show you what states have that. So the American chestnut forest, that gives us a 25% building hardwood output. So that's where we're going to want to construct those buildings. We're going to get those benefits. There's quite a bit of states here that get it, so a lot of options. But Niagara Falls, we only get that bonus here. Canada also gets it. But yeah, we'll only get it here in New York. So this is where we're going to want to produce all of our electricity, at least initially. That's going to be some time from now. And then we got the New York Harbor, which gives us some nice bonuses as well, particularly to the shipyards and the naval bases. So yeah, that's another thing to consider. But yeah, every state can potentially have these state modifiers, and some of them are actually penalties. So like with the Appalachian Mountains, we get coal mines building throughputs, but it's going to reduce infrastructure and state construction efficiency. At the Ohio River, increasing infrastructure. So you can see where you're getting those bonuses. Here you got the Mississippi River. And so yeah, it's nice taking a look at all these so you can kind of figure out where you want to build things. So we got Bone Valley in Florida, so maybe that's where we want to produce our sulfur. It can be difficult to keep all of these in mind with a large country like the United States, like where best to build things. But definitely something you want to take a look at, guys, before you kind of get started. Look at all your states, see what state traits you have, familiarize yourself with those. These are all incorporated states. Not all of our states are incorporated. So some of them are unincorporated, which means in the case of the United States that they're not full states. So like Iowa's not. And thus they do not have a star on the flag. And so that has a variety of effects. I'm just kind of hover over that so you can pause it and read it if you want. But in our interest, what the main effect here is whether or not the institution bonuses go to that state and if they cost you bureaucracy. So we're going to want to really increase our bureaucracy so we can get more stars on our flag. I think we have 25 stars right now, 25 states in the Union. And so yeah, we're going to want to get all these other states in there as well, so that we can increase the number of stars. Of course, that's our only goal here. We want more stars, guys, which this is a unique mechanic the US has. For every state up to 100 states, they'll get a new star on their flag. So let's go back to the situation log. So again, the problem here is with the clippers, but with any of the trade goods, we're going to let this play about a week, I think. And there's a lot of stuff we still need to take care of, guys. Well, let's let it play 1 week and just let everything update. As you can see, these are all giving us the bonuses and penalties from the interest groups based off of their opinion of our current government. So if we were to take a look at what we're currently getting here, because it looks like the intelligentsia absolutely love us, and that's largely because we're passing that law there. And so because of that, we're going to get some nice bonuses here. So we're going to get a negative 20% on society technology costs, which is great because that's currently what we're researching. So we'll be able to research those techs quicker. And also a plus 100% migration attraction. That's incredibly powerful. So for the United States, this is going to result in people from all over the world coming to our country. So that's going to allow us to increase our population quite fast, which is fairly low. We'll actually take a look at how we compare to the rest of the world here in a little bit. So we also apparently have pleased the southern planters enough. They're at +5. So you get your first bonus at +5, your second bonus at +10, and then you'll get penalties as they go into negatives. I think -5 is probably where you get that first penalty. But yeah, we don't currently have anybody who's really unhappy with us. So the southern planters are giving us more influence. The rural folk, because they are very loyal, are giving us 2 bonuses. Bonuses to the throughput of logging, agriculture, and ranches, which throughput, hovering over this is basically going to result in them needing, I think it's like efficiency. They need like less input goods and they get more output goods. So it's just overall a good thing. And so yeah, we want that. And then we're also getting +10% infrastructure from the rural folk. And I think that's all of our current benefits right now. So now that we let it play a week, we can now start dealing with the economy, guys. I just wanted to make sure everything got updated. You can see that now we have a lot more expensive government goods. Clippers, iron, tools, everything's very expensive there. And part of that's because of the construction that we started. That's requiring certain goods. And so like if we look at it, we're currently building iron frame buildings. And so that requires tools, fabric, wood, and iron. And so that's all making it very expensive. And we have to pay for that for government administration buildings. So certain buildings we have to pay for. Other buildings will instead use the investment pool if you have any. We currently get 11.3 thousand. And it's just going up right now because all we're building is government administration. So the investment pool will not be used for that. So we'll let that stockpile a bit and we'll make use of it here in a little bit once we finish constructing these. But what we can do is go ahead and get a couple other things done. I'd like to build additional construction sectors. I'm thinking getting one in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I think we're going to do one in Pennsylvania. So we can build this way. Just build through here. That's one way. So you can kind of just go through here and select, different things for your urban buildings. Select your resources, agriculture, or you can do it through here for development. So we're going to do it that way for now, but that's really not the most efficient way of doing it. It's far better to either expand through here, or probably the best way, because you can see the bonuses, is through here. So like, let's say we wanted to build, I don't know, we saw we had iron problems, so we could go for some iron mines. And with this, you can sort it by a variety of things. So you could sort it by how many peasants they have available, which that's who's going to be working those buildings, or you hope to have working those buildings. These are essentially people that are inefficient. So you want to get rid of the peasants. Also, that's important for reducing the power of the landed elite. So the southern planters in our case. So yeah, we want to get rid of all the peasants if we can. So just looking at a current profit here, the best place to build would be Connecticut for the iron mines, if that's what we wanted to get. Another thing to consider is that you're also going to get these modifiers here, and so much of this is based off of how many levels of that building they already have. So it's often beneficial to build in the same locations. So that's something to consider. So you can sort by that, sort by peasants, the current level, or how much profit they'll actually get, which is typically the way you'll use that. So this is kind of the best way to do it. So you have access to all the buildings through here. There's these buildings. They're in the political lens, construction sector, administration, the government administration, and the universities. Another thing we're going to need to get here soon. And there is the military buildings, the barracks, and the naval bases as well. And then the trade lens, you have access to the construction sector, so you can get that 2 different places, the ports and the railways. So we do want to go ahead and get some other stuff constructing, guys. So let's just take a look at the market prices. So we have a shortage of iron, so that's a severe problem. So clearly that's our priority. So we need iron mines. Also a shortage of luxury clothes, not as big of a deal. Groceries are pretty expensive too, so we're going to want to fix that. And you can see the tools are pretty expensive. Okay. So let's go and start getting these sorted out. And I think the first way to do this is to take a look at our trade routes, because we might be trading away some of these resources that we're currently short on. So for instance, we're currently bringing in luxury clothes. So don't want to cancel that. We're getting those from France. So that's going to help us reduce the cost of luxury clothes. This is all automatic now. So it will increase as long as France has resources to trade and it's still profitable here. As long as it's still profitable, they'll increase the rate and you have everything necessary. It'll do that on its own. Well, much better than the previous system, it seems, just based on what Paradox outlined and what I heard from people who had played the leaked version of the game, is that it was kind of a hassle managing it. It wasn't very fun. Are we currently trading for sulfur? Yeah, we're currently importing sulfur, and sulfur is really cheap. And we have lots of sulfur. So I'm going to go and cancel this, and hopefully I don't regret it. So we're going to cancel that. We do need to keep our eyes on the available convoys. We don't want to go above that, or else we need to build more. So we're importing furniture. We'll keep that for now. I don't see any reason to stop that. We're also importing clothes. Eventually we're going to want to produce all this for ourselves, though. Importing sugar. And while there is routes here, none of these are ones that we set up, if it doesn't say the American route. So we looked at the luxury clothes. I thought that was up here, but yeah, we looked at the luxury clothes. Luxury furniture, we're also bringing in that from France. France is likely going to be a key trade partner of ours, and so we'll probably want to start up a trade relationship with them. Bringing in coffee from Brazil, trying to keep that low cost. Bringing in a ton of dyes. That's something we're going to eventually want to produce ourselves. Clippers, yeah, that's other people trading for them. Ammunition, currently we are exporting ammunition. I think we'll keep that going for now, but we'll eventually want to cancel that. And that's all of our routes currently. Okay. So there's not really any adjustments we can make right now to those, other than, if we wanted to start new trade routes, which I don't think that's necessary. Let's actually just go ahead and produce iron first, and then tools, is what I'm thinking. So let's go into the production lens, and we'll do the iron mines. And as far as where we're going to build these, we're actually going to build them in Pennsylvania. It's not the highest on profit. However, that's where our steel mines are going to be. And so some of this is a bit of role play here. We can build quite a bit here as well. 57 is the potential for iron mines, so we can get it very high. So we're going to build, I think, 2 iron mines here. And then tools. That'll be an industry. So tooling workshops. And with this one, we'll probably just go with the profit. Maybe go in Illinois here. They have plenty of peasants. So we'll build one right there. Maybe a second one. We do want to spread out the love a little bit as well. But for right now, we'll just put them in Illinois. So we get 2 of those. All right, so now let's take a look at our construction tab here and maybe move these around just a little bit. We might need both of those. Yeah, you know what? This is probably good to go here, guys. Yeah, we'll just leave it as is. We don't need to change the priorities. All right, so is there anything else that we need to take care of here? We've already got all those trade goods going. Yeah, I think we're good to go now. We can go ahead and look at the journal real quick. These are journal entries, things we might want to complete. And I guess that gives us, yeah, that reminded me we need to take care of authority and influence. So if we can get relations with Texas up to 20, and once they're at peace with Mexico, which they should win that war, just based on a series of events that happen. And if we can make peace with them, we can turn them into a state. They can be accepted as a state. So we'll want to do that. There's a slavery debate. This one's on the outliner here. Doesn't need to be, because we're not going to be completing that anytime soon, guys. So what we can do is put like ones that we are going to work on. So like the Texan statehood. Central archives. So this requires that a government administration is up to level 10 and that the workforce occupancy is 90% and has activated a standardized filing system. We could try and do that one, but then you have to also have the 75% eligible buildings. So we'll see. Maybe we'll put that one on here so I don't forget. This one here probably not going to be happening anytime soon. And I don't think we'll be able to do this one either, because there's just not much of a need for the whaling industry. We can look at all of our potential journal entries, and this shows us what we have to do just to get them up here where we can work on them. And then we have our decisions here. None of them are currently available. That's something we want to kind of dip in and take a look at, because unfortunately, you don't get any notifications when they pop up. I wish they would fix that, or allow you to check mark them like you can in some other Paradox games. Let me know when I can take these. Well, they don't have that, so it's kind of a bummer. Alright, so let's go to close our commanders. We don't need to see all those. Keep this clear as possible. Alright, so let's go and contact Texas, which you notice I zoomed out there because if we click on the state here while zoomed in, it'll give us access to the state rather than the country. Texas is currently independent, the Lone Star State. And let's go ahead and start improving opinion with them because you can see that currently their attitude is very favorable, and our relations is -2, so we could boost that. So I think that's exactly what we're going to do. Also, you can see their strategies, like what they're working on, all their stats, all that kind of good stuff. So let's go ahead and begin improving relations with them. We could also do that through here. Just right-clicking allows you to get access to many of the interactions that you can do with them as well. So we're going to boost opinion with them. And I almost want to boost opinion with Canada as well, because we do have all this influence to make use of, and maybe the British too. So let's go ahead and improve relations with Canada and Britain. With France, we should have pretty high relations with them. We cannot propose a trade agreement just yet. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll probably want to begin improving relations with them too. So influence, we don't really need excess because it just reduces your infamy faster, which we don't have any infamy. So we're going to make use of a lot of our influence here to improve opinions with some other countries. We'll not be improving opinions with Mexico because they're likely to be an enemy here for some time. So we also have that excess authority. Keeping that for the enactment time is probably in our best interest. However, I really want to suppress. We can't because they're in the government. Okay, so we'll have to wait. But I really want to suppress the southern planters. So that's one thing we'll want to use our power for, our authority. We could instead bolster the industrialists. So that'd be an option as well. But let's get these laws enacted, since it does make it faster. And we're going to put this on to speed 5 here. So this is just letting us all know the different rivalries and stuff. It's really hard for me not to pay attention to what's going on down here, but there's so much stuff that pops up, and unfortunately they don't give you any control over it. It's a real bummer, like what pops up here, because it's so much garbage, but some of it's really important. So we have an event here. So these can pop up on the map here, or you'll see them over here. So you can click on them either way. There is a default option that we picked for you after 80 days here. I think it might be 90 days, but maybe 10 days have already passed. But yeah, it does pick it for you, so you do need to click on it if you want to be able to read the event and interact with it. So President Andrew Jackson has defied the ruling of the Supreme Court and ordered the removal of the Cherokee people to the Indian Territory. Andrew Jackson, he once was looked at as one of the greatest presidents in U.S. history, and now more recently he's been kind of looked at in a much different light due to his treatment of the Native Americans, which was horrible. All the good things he did do, because he did do some good things as the president, particularly when it comes to like the National Bank. But yeah, he was he did some good things, but it's obviously it's overshadowed by some of the really horrible negative things that he did. So we can say, is that even legal? Adds the Indian removal to the Journal of the United States of America. So that's what we're going to go with, default option there, but we'll have some more events that pop up with that. But yeah, one of the interesting things about Andrew Jackson is that Adolf Hitler, his final plan for the Jewish people, his genocide of the Jewish people, was actually based off of Andrew Jackson's final plan for the Indian peoples. Part of it anyways. And I say Hitler, but it was actually some other people that came up with that. But Hitler obviously put it in place. So yeah, obviously Andrew Jackson, some pretty negative stuff to be said about him. So we got the event O City of Plenty. This is one that fires all the time. In fact, one of the negatives, and you could say this really about any Paradox game at launch, is that you'll see a lot of the same events, guys, like over and over again. They just don't have very many, so it's kind of a bummer that you just see the same ones. But this one here is really helpful because it just results in on more loyalists, which you can always use. So we say let them celebrate. Well, I guess I'll read the top here. We won't read all these ones. That's a lot of reading, and this is all flavor text, really. But the most prominent members of New York high society have been seen organizing luxurious parties in the new and lavish urban buildings. So we can say let them celebrate, and that'll get us 10% more loyalists in the upper and middle strata pops. Or you say the party will never end, which will give us a lot more loyalists, but will increase their expected standard of living. If we don't achieve that, that'll result in them getting quite unhappy. So we're not gonna do that, guys. We're just go with this one. Get some nice loyalists. It's helpful. We have another event here, John Ross's protest petition. So Chief John Ross, one of the principal Cherokee chiefs, has presented a petition to Congress asking them to void the treaty, which will compel the Cherokee Nation to relocate to the Indian Territory, which the Indian Territory, by the way, guys, is Oklahoma here. As of right now, this is a subject state, so we can eventually annex them, which we will want to do, and turn them into a full state. But as of right now, it's called Indian Territory. And his petition has almost as many signatures as the entire eastern Cherokee population. So we can say a treaty is a treaty. We cannot rescind what we have signed. This is going to increase the interest group approval of the Southern planters. Or we could say our conscience compels us to void the removal treaty. And so this will stall it from happening for 3 years, but it'll reduce the approval of the Southern planters. But that's the route we're going to go. We're going to stall this, guys. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any way to avoid it. I didn't see any way to avoid it. And so this is all tied to this journal entry here, the Indian removal. And so this will be completed if any of these three things happen. I suppose you can avoid it if you make it so they're not discriminated against anymore. But that gives you 3 years to do that. It'd be a challenging goal, but interesting one, I suppose. I don't think we'd be able to complete it, but yeah, one thing you could do if you wanted to. The industrialists are now happy with us, so we're going to get 10% reduction technology cost reduction, so that's helpful. Again, there's some useful stuff down here, but it gets so crowded. Like Santa Ana has been captured. That's going to essentially end the war with Mexico. Well, yeah, useful stuff happening here, but we can't really pay attention to it because there's just so much garbage that pops up that's not really all that important. Yeah, so like, looks like this was deactivated, so we didn't get it for very long, unfortunately. And so what the game really is construction. A lot of construction. That's the economic focus, as you're just constructing buildings. We do have a little bit of excess, it looks like. It hasn't quite spilled over to these. Okay, we're just gonna leave it as is. Oh, that's because we built that construction sector. And so our ability to construct is slowly going up as we get pops, workers into those buildings. Crooked connections. Frustrated with the lengthy legal process surrounding guaranteed liberties, Andrew Jackson of the Rural Folk has approached us with an offer to expedite the process, utilizing his personal connections within the state apparatus. So we can grant him permission. Time is of the essence, so this will allow us to enact it quicker, but would also piss off the bourgeoisie. Or we can say, no, we'll do this by the book or not at all, and that will actually increase the time it takes to enact it. Well, let's do this. Yeah, I don't care if we irritate them. We're probably going to irritate quite a few of our interest groups as we do different things. The election is 107 days. So click on this here. You can see what the projected results are for the election. It is only involving political parties, not interest groups. Interest groups join political parties. And whenever the election is upcoming, you'll see the interest groups change their parties around, which you can see that here. The Democratic Party is no longer just the Southern planters. It looks like it's our entire government right now. We also have the rural folk who have joined them. The Whig Party now is not just the intelligentsia, it's also got the evangelicals. So their projected votes is 56% of the votes, while the Democratic Party is projected to win 43%. And that is affected by their momentum. And momentum will be changed by different events that fire prior to the election. Now, I haven't showed this yet. If you click on any of the interest groups, I did show this screen, but we didn't talk about it. You can see not just their party and their clouts, but also their ideologies. And so this affects how they feel about all different laws. This here, which is, as you can see, a different color than these other ones, this is the one that their leader is currently granting them. So they have John Calhoun, who's a slaver, and so therefore he has a very strong endorsement of the slave trade, and that's why we can enact the slave trade. And he endorses the legacy slavery as well. And these are his traits. And the leaders are pretty important for the interest groups, because it affects like how much attraction they get, how much approval they'll have of you and your government, you know, their different political strength, all that kind of stuff. You can also see the traits that they'll grant you if they're happy or unhappy with you, and so on. So that's the unhappy one that we'll get. You see all the population that supports them, their feelings on laws, like which ones they want to pass, the different modifiers that are affecting them as well. So that's one of the things you look at. I didn't show the slave state thing. So you see these are slave states, so they are utilizing slaves. And these ones are non-slave states, so they do not have that modifier. I was thinking they had a non-slave state modifier, but they don't. There's just a slave one. And so these ones will use slaves in the place of certain types of jobs, particularly laborers. And so we probably have a lot of slaves here. Yeah, 42.9%. And the game is kind of broken, where the number of slaves in some of these southern states, particularly South Carolina for some reason, seems to increase like radically. Like to the point where almost the entire population is slaves. I'm not sure why that happens. It seems like all the people who aren't slaves move out of the state. But yeah, it's just completely broken, and it really messes up those states and their economies, where they can't do anything because their economies are so messed up. It's some kind of bug, something that's clearly not working properly. I'm not sure what the issue is there. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff we could be looking at that I haven't. Again, lots of stuff to talk about and do. There's just so much to the game, and I want to like get through the first year, at least try to. And we have an event here. Commander commends Civic Coalition. So this is one of the events I think I mentioned, how they can affect the momentum of the parties. And a lot of times it does involve a particular character. This one is an admiral here. He's making public statements in support of the Democratic Party. Not surprising, because he is a member of the Southern Planters. That's his interest group. Bringing into question the political neutrality of the military. So we can say that he can say what he wants. This will add momentum to the Democratic Party, something we don't want. We actually don't want them to have any momentum. We want the Democrats to lose. We can reprimand him. Good soldiers don't give orders, they take them. And this will result in 5% of the officer pops becoming more radical. Or, and this is kind of like the neutral option, where you're not really supporting or objecting. You can say if he likes politics so much, he ought to get more involved. And this is nice, because this will result in him becoming the leader of that interest group. So he'll replace John Calhoun, which is a good thing for us. We want him to replace him, more than likely. We'll take a look at his traits and see how much that's going to affect him. So as an interest group leader, this will increase his popularity. So yeah, he's very popular, so that'd be a bad thing, I suppose. But that's pretty much all he's getting as an interest group leader. Compare that to John Calhoun, where he's given a lot more modifiers here. So that's actually reducing the attraction, so that's a good thing. But this will increase their political strength and increase their attraction. So overall, it's a net 5% increase of attraction. He's also fairly popular, it looks like. I guess we could click on him to better see this. Maybe not. He's neutral right now. He's got, yeah, that bigoted one, maybe. Yeah, decreasing popularity quite a bit. But then he also has this. So he's actually increasing the political strength of the Southern Planters. So it'd be better to have him in place, and that's what we're going to do. If he likes politics so much, he ought to get more involved. And if the Democrats win, he might actually become our president. We'll see. As of right now, let's just close this. It does look like the Democrats are going to win. So we might have just changed who our potential president is going to be. It won't be John Calhoun. It'll be that admiral instead. So this is, we're still earning money. That's what's important. We're currently constructing two things. We are going to need to get more. I'm hesitant to build too many construction sectors, because eventually we're going to become broke and we're not going to be able to build too much. So the election is done. I'm glad we got to this point. I wanted to make sure in the first episode we saw our first election here. The Democratic Party has won. So we get this little notification up here that we get a free government reform. We can change up our government without creating any radicals, because that's one effect as well of changing government. And then I think it affects legitimacy. Everything you do when you reform your government affects the legitimacy. So if we remove the Democratic Party, legitimacy is going to tank because they're the ones who won the election. So if we remove them completely, we're not going to have any legitimacy. We could get it a little bit higher by throwing the Whigs in there because they at least got some votes. And you notice it's actually going down as I throw other interest groups in here because they didn't win anything in the election, so they don't really have any right to be in the government. And you're going to get a penalty from the size of your government. So like we just throw the industrialists in there so we can take a look at it. Size of government, -18. So yeah, it's actually going to hurt us if we add anybody else. Legitimacy will be lower. Obviously that's not a good thing. If we just put the Democrats in, it'd be much higher. However, we don't want the Democrats in power. So one reason why the legitimacy is being reduced is because he's still going to be the president. He was elected as president. He remains president, even if his interest group is not in government. So therefore, we're going to lose legitimacy because we don't have him in government. But let's go and put the Whig Party in place. That's the intelligentsia and the evangelicals. And that's going to change what things we'll be able to pass, what laws we can pass. So let's go and confirm that. We'll have lower legitimacy, but that's fine. We do want to take a look at our new president and see what bonuses he's given us as ruler. We have an increase of power projection from the Navy and Army. So that's like your prestige. I never did take a look at that. We'll do that here in a minute. That's only affect him as commander. And as ruler, we're going to get more prestige. So also going to affect us up there. But also tax waste, so less money, unfortunately. We got an event, the abolitionist martyrdom. An ardent abolitionist writer died in a firefight against a pro-slavery mob which has gathered in front of his house. The story has gone national and radicalized previously apathetic individuals high and low. So we can say ghastly, the violence of slavers must be resisted, and Andrew Jackson will change his ideology to abolitionist. Or we can say this abolitionist agitation must be stopped, and our current president, Eli Augustus Frederick Lavalette, he's got quite a name there, will change his ideology to slaver. We're going to go with this one, guys. Not going to have much of an effect, though, because we won't likely try and get rid of slavery that soon. We'll see. But yeah, I don't think Andrew Jackson will still be alive at the point that we do it. I'm not sure how old he is here. But yeah, he's up there in age. Yeah, 69. So I highly doubt he'll still be alive at that point. We'll have a different interest group leader there. So I did want to take a look at our current rank. So we are 6th, so last place with the great powers, which, any country that either isn't independent, in the case of East India Company, or is an unrecognized power, in the case of Great Qing, they will not be able to become great powers. And so, yeah, we're here in last place among the great powers. And that's based on all these factors. You see with our prestige, it's very low. We do not have very high prestige. Our GDP is actually higher than several of the countries here. So both Austria and Prussia. Our current standard of living isn't too bad either. It's one of the best in the world right now. Population is a bit low, though, compared to many of the other great powers. I suppose it's higher than Prussia, though. And so, yeah, that's our current situation here when it comes to our ranking. And we also have some different political movements which have popped up here. And also we're losing some bonuses probably because they're not in government anymore, so they're unhappy with us. So yeah, we're no longer getting their modifiers. Still getting the one from the intelligentsia. And of course the industrialist one as well. But yeah, the rural folk are no longer happy with us. So this could become a problem because we have two different things here. So the first is enact migration controls. So this has a lot of support because both the trade unions and rural folk want us to do it. Yeah, this could become a problem. I was actually forced to enact migration controls in my previous campaign as well because, yeah, they just had too much support and there's too much radicalism that was forming because of it. You see we have 229,000 radicals right now. 354,000 loyalists. So more and more people will become radical because of this. So we might have to do that, unfortunately. And then we have a movement to preserve no home affairs. Not surprising, we knew both of them opposed that. Not very high support though, so I don't think it'll be an issue. And it'll go away once we pass this, which is very close to passing, hopefully. It's only 18.9% success, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here, guys. Oh, nope, didn't get it, nor did we get any events. Let's take a look at what this is. A cry for freedom. A protest advocating for the Guaranteed Liberties Law was called in order to silence the detractors. However, the police force decided to take the law in their own hands and violently repressed the protesters. So yeah, this is one of the things that can happen when you get the, once it fills up. Once it fills up, basically they're done debating, I suppose what you'd say. You can kind of look at that all here. Look at the law, success, debate champs, advance, or stall. Different things that can happen when that fills up. And sometimes when it fills up, you get an event that allows you to affect it. So we say both parties need to calm down. This is going to decrease the enactment time while increasing the enactment success chance, but it will result in more radicals among the lower strata pops. Or you say the police will have to publicly apologize for this, which is going to drastically increase our enactment time, or decrease enactment time and increase the success chance, but would instead result in radicalizing the officers and servicemen and pissing off the armed forces. I think we're going to do that anyway to try and get this passed. Increase the chance up to 38.9%. And somebody just died. It looks like our president just died. So now we have a new president, the new leader of the Southern Planters, and that is Isaac Hull. He is also a naval commander. So, he's got those bonuses. The Brave, we still have that. So we don't have the penalty to the tax income. That's nice. He's an explorer as well, increasing his popularity. And whenever you do the expeditions, that's a useful trait to have. So that's our new president. All right, we've gotten into the next year, 1837. We're not going to be able to play much longer. We're still building those tooling workshops. Once we finish one, looks like, we can now go and get some more stuff building. We still need more bureaucracy. Now, once we get this passed, you're going to see it get reduced some. Let me just see how much it will be. It looks like we'll be all right. But the reason why we need more bureaucracy is so we can get more states, guys. And then also, so we can further increase the investment levels here. So we do need more bureaucracy. That's something to consider. See, we got some high tensions here because we're colonizing them. That will likely result in them rebelling against us, result in a crisis that we'll have to deal with. We'll have to fight them, probably. Of course, we still have the expensive, government goods. We're going to continue trying to work on getting that situation improved. So with the luxury clothes, I'd like to eventually fix that. How is our clothing market looking? Oh, it looks like are those expensive too. Did I just pass it? Because if the clothes aren't too expensive, I cannot seem to find it here. Then what we could do, there it is. Not too bad. What we could do, this is something we haven't looked at all yet, and I wanted to show it here in the first episode, is the production methods. So with the production methods, you have these for each building. You can change them all with this here, and this changes a lot of different things. So the automation, this results in you needing like more resources but less workers. So helpful if you have a shortage of workers. This here is who owns it. That's one way to impact who's getting all the money from that building. And then you'll have bonuses here, which typically result in you needing more resources, often more advanced resources, goods. I'm calling them resources, but goods. You'll need more advanced goods. And then it will increase employment of certain more advanced jobs, in this case machinists and engineers, while decreasing employment of a lower type of job like laborers, and result in more of the good that you're producing. And then these ones that you'll find in the middle typically are one, maybe two of them, will often change what goods you're producing, the ratio of goods you're producing. So in this case, we could change from regular clothes to luxury clothes, just to make the luxury clothes a bit cheaper, which would likely result in less radicals because our richer pops are buying those and they're not happy about the cost. The problem with producing luxury clothes, though, is silk. We don't have any silk, so we'd have to trade for that. Eventually we'll be able to build it though. Maybe that's something we should prioritize. So for right now, we're going to need to trade for it. Yeah, because I did forget about the fact that we don't have silk. We don't have access to it. Not yet. So because we can't produce our own luxury goods, we're going to want to go ahead and set up a trade route for them. But yeah, I did want to show all this. It's the same thing with the luxury furniture here. We're currently producing it in New York, Pennsylvania, and Maine, while Ohio is focusing on non-luxury furniture. So yeah, we do want to take a look at these often when goods are kind of expensive, because you can't always be building. So for instance, with the porcelain, this might be a good example, or the groceries. We'll take a look at those two and see if there's anything we can do here to try and improve the situation over there. Also the tooling workshops, I don't think there's anything we can do here though. We just don't have access. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. We just don't have access to anything yet. We'll start looking at these glass works here. Quite a few of these in the States. So yeah, everything's already on the leaded glass, but some of our buildings are not producing any porcelain. So we could switch over Ohio here. So they'll produce more porcelain to reduce the cost of that. You see that it will result in a reduction of money due to the goods substitution. It's going to be not very beneficial for Ohio doing that. While with Rhode Island it would be, and that's largely because they wouldn't be producing as much. So it doesn't reduce the cost of porcelain as much, nor does it require as much dye. However, I think we're going to go ahead and do it with Ohio, so this isn't an issue in the future, because I think they have plenty of money. Yeah, this isn't gonna, they'll still earn money, so it's not going to hurt them too much. So we're going to do it with Ohio, and that will fix some of our porcelain issues. Tooling workshops, we already know there's nothing we can do there. The chemical plants might be something we can do here, because not everybody's producing the explosives. So this would not be beneficial to the building, because explosives would be far too cheap. Okay, so probably not enough of a problem for us to warrant doing that. And I know there's something else I want to look at in regards to the goods here. Yeah, we looked at those groceries, that's right. So we can take a look at the food industries and see what all we can do here. This is where we have our food industries right now. So nothing there available. Those are the pot stills. That's where we could produce less liquor, which, you know, this would be beneficial if we change this up. Where would we want to change it though? Maybe Vermont. Feels like Tennessee, Kentucky, and North Carolina, particularly Tennessee, should all be producing alcohol. So let's go ahead and change this up. It's not going to save them a lot of money, but it will reduce the cost of groceries. So that's important. Well, also, we'll need less sugar. Sugar's already really cheap though. So yeah, let's go and change that up. So this is one way to kind of adjust the cost immediately, because this is all done right away, unlike when you got to construct buildings, which obviously takes longer to do. So yeah, we'll get it fixed that way, fix some of these prices here. I might also want to take a look and see if there's any goods that we could trade away that, you know, right now don't have any value to them. So this will show you on the trade routes screen. You see tobacco would be beneficial to export, and these are all things that would be beneficial to import. We are currently importing sugar, and sugar's really cheap, so we could stop trading, but it's so much, we're getting so much of it that we would end up having a shortage if we did that. Yeah, that would be a problem, I think. But yeah, sugar's, you know, incredibly cheap right now, and you know, maybe that helps us out. Maybe we'll leave that as is. But yeah, I did want to kind of show as much as I could here in the first episode. So clearly we're going to need to trade for more luxury clothes. So let's start an import route. So this is something we haven't done yet. So we want to base this on productivity and the amount. This is how much we can get from them. Of course, you also want to consider your convoy usage and make sure you have enough there. We're going to trade with the British to get 45. Try and reduce the cost of that. All right. So we will come back next episode and get some stuff constructing here. There's a lot of things we need to build, we need to make use of our construction points and also our investment pool, though it doesn't look like we actually have anything in the investment pool right now because all of it's currently going towards building these tooling workshops. We do have plenty of excess money here we'll want to make use of, though. So yeah, we'll have to do that next episode. Same thing with this event, Bleeding Kansas. Those are all things we'll have to take a look at in the next video because we just don't have any more time in this one. The one thing I did want to see is we've got more journal entries. Oh yeah, we want to do this one. I don't know if we'll be able to get this one done. Yeah, because I don't think we have anything anywhere near high enough level there. We can take a look, but yeah, I do want to do that one. So we'll try and do these ones that we have up here if we can. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this first episode. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. If you're looking for anything to watch while you wait for the next episode, check out the front page of our channel. Got a ton of videos all sorted by genre. Play a lot of strategy games, particularly these games from Paradox. I particularly play Hearts of Iron 4. We've got, 40 campaigns or something like that of Hoi 4, so if you're into that game, maybe check out one of those more recent series. We don't play EU4 that often, done a couple series here and there. Same thing with Stellaris. Those are ones we don't play a lot of. Imperator Rome, of course, that's a pretty much dead game, but done a couple series with that. But really it's Hoi 4 and CK3, Crusader Kings 3. So we've got, I think, 4 CK3 campaigns on the channel right now. A couple of those are role-play series. Actually, I think 3 of those 4 are role-play series, if that's something you enjoy, where we kind of play according to the traits of our character. So yeah, I play a lot of Paradox games, but we do play other strategy games as well, and play a wide variety of genres, particularly on the console, where Jinx, my wife and co-host here on the channel, will join me. Kind of a different tone to those ones, a little bit lighter tone. But yeah, we should be able to find something to watch while you wait for the next episode, which I'm going to try and get one out on Wednesday. Obviously, this video is coming out incredibly late. So I'll try my best to get one out on Wednesday. Everything's just kind of hectic. This office here where I'm recording is completely empty. Nothing, I don't know if you guys can hear any kind of echo because the room is empty. But yeah, like nothing set up. It's just been kind of crazy trying to get everything done and into the house because she left it a mess. She left a lot of trash in here. She left a ton of stuff. We had to get like trucks to get everything out, all the crap she left. So it took me like 2 days with the help of 2 other guys to get everything out of this house because it was so ridiculous how much stuff she left here, the cellar. So yeah, just kind of a mess. One of the appliances broken. Really nice house. The house is beautiful. It's huge, and we're glad to have it. But yeah, it's been some problems here, and that's what's kind of resulted in us taking so long to get into the house and get everything done and be able to start recording again, unfortunately. But yeah, let's get this video finished up. Remember, if you're looking for any links, such as links to our PayPal, Patreon, or Teespring store, if you want to support the channel, then check out the description of our videos. You'll also find links to our Discord if you'd like to join our community, and finally you'll find links to all of our social media if you'd like to follow us on those. So I do hope to see you guys on the next episode. I'm going to try to have one on Wednesday. If not, then it would be on Thursday. This is a longer episode, though. I did want to do that since, obviously it's a bit late compared to the other channels. So yeah, I do hope to see you guys on that next video, and thanks for watching.